You ever look at someone who's making 10, maybe 20 times what you make, and you just can't wrap your head around it? It's not that they're smarter or working harder, but it's like they're operating on a totally different frequency. But what if I told you they're not just playing the game better, they're playing a completely different game altogether? Let's break down the real rules. I mean, this image says it all, doesn't it? On the left, that's the reality for most of us. Pure effort, the daily grind, running as hard as we can, trading our limited time for money. And on the right, you've got these results that just seem to multiply by themselves. It feels like two completely separate universes, and understanding the bridge between them, well, that's everything. So the big question is, how is this even possible? Because, the answer can't just be work harder. The person on that treadmill is already giving it their all. The secret isn't about more effort. It's something else entirely. And here's the answer. They are not playing the same game as you. Simple as that. They're not just a little bit better at running on the treadmill. Nope. They've figured out how to get off the thing completely. The key is understanding the tool they're using to create that massive separation. That tool, it's called leverage. And the best way to think about it is like a vehicle. It's something you get into that multiplies your effort, letting you cover way more distance with way less energy. Let's see this play out. Okay, here's our runner, just going for it, working up a sweat. But, wait a second. Look at that. Another person on a simple bicycle just cruises right past them. This cyclist is using a really basic form of leverage, a simple tool, and it's already creating this huge advantage. So you get smart, you upgrade your vehicle, you get on the bike, right? And you're moving faster than you ever did just running. But then someone in a car just zips right on by. And this is a super important lesson. Not all leverage is created equal. There are levels to this. And finally, here you are in the car, feeling pretty good, covering a lot of ground. But then you look up and you see a jet streak across the sky. See, the difference between running and cycling is big, but the difference between a car and a jet, it's astronomical. The best kinds of leverage aren't just a little better, they're exponentially more powerful. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? The massive gap in what people earn has nothing to do with outworking someone. It's about out-leveraging them. It's not about sprinting harder. It's about fundamentally changing your vehicle. Okay, so that leads us to the next obvious question. If leverage is the answer, where do we find it? I mean, how do we get our hands on these better vehicles? Turns out, it's not as abstract as you might think. It all starts with understanding this one core concept. Value is not a flat playing field. Not at all. It's a hierarchy. It's stacked in very distinct levels. And your leverage, and by extension, your income, is determined by which level you're operating on. And you can actually see these levels pretty clearly. At the very bottom, you have a stick figure just pushing a block. That's pure implementation. One level up, you see a figure telling other people where to push their blocks. That's unification. Then, above that, one person with a megaphone is influencing a whole crowd. That's communication. And at the absolute top, a figure is just looking at a blueprint for a machine that does all the work by itself. That's pure imagination. So level 1 is implementation. This is where most people are. It's where you trade your time for money. But here's the catch. Your time is finite, and your physical energy is finite. When you multiply two limited things together, you are always going to get a limited result. It's just math. You can't escape it. All right, moving up a rung, we get to level 2, unification. This is basically management. Here, you're multiplying your effort through other people. And yeah, it's a step up for sure, but you're still limited by the number of people you can realistically manage. You're not running anymore, but you're still on the bicycle, pedaling. And right here, between level 2 and level 3, this is the most important part of this whole idea. There's an invisible line. Everything below this line is the world of labor. Everything above it is the world of wealth. So many people live their whole lives without ever knowing this line even exists, let alone how to cross it. Once you cross that line, you hit level 3, communication. At this level, your income is finally disconnected from your physical effort. You create value with your words, with your ideas. And why is this so powerful? Because physical labor doesn't scale. But psychology? Oh, psychology scales infinitely. One great idea can reach and move millions of people. And then, at the very top, level 4, imagination. This is where you stop asking, how can I earn more? And you start asking a totally different question. What can I build that earns without me? This is the world of systems, of vision, of architecture. This is where wealth becomes truly automatic. So what's stopping people from climbing up to these higher levels? Most of the time, it's not the external stuff. The real prison isn't your job or your circumstances. It's the story you tell yourself about them. It's the limits you believe are real. And this brings us to a really critical distinction. On the left, you see choice. The stick figure has all these branching paths. It feels safe, right? It keeps all the exits open. But on the right, you see decision. The word decide literally means to cut off. All the other paths are gone. There's only one way forward. You see, real progress, real change, it doesn't come from keeping your options open. It comes from making a true decision. Once you commit with total certainty, once you cut off all the other possibilities, you'll find something amazing happens. Circumstances, resources, even people, they all start to rearrange themselves around your certainty. The world responds to that kind of clarity. So, how do you actually start building this vehicle of communication and imagination? Well, here's a super practical formula. You just shift your habits away from passively consuming to actively creating. You read more, think more, test your ideas, write down what you learn, and then share it consistently, over and over again. Over time, your ideas become your leverage. And this brings us back to a fundamental truth about how the world works. The market does not reward you for how hard something is. It doesn't pay you for being exhausted. It pays for impact. It rewards you based on two things: how many people your work reaches and how profoundly it affects them. Scale and depth, those are the real currencies of leverage. So that leaves us with one last question to think about. I want you to look at your own life, your own work. Are you still trying to win the race by just running harder and faster on the same old treadmill? Or are you ready to stop for a second, look around, and start building a new vehicle?